Did you know that in order to be in the top 1% of earners in the US, you need to be making $570,000 a year? But even if you don't make that much, you can still manage your money like the top 1%. 99% of people are only focused on their next move, their next bill, their next paycheck, their next purchase. But the 1%, they think like grandmasters. They see the entire chessboard and they're thinking like 5 moves ahead. That's why they're part of the 1%. So in this video, I want to show you how you can break out of this paycheck to paycheck thinking and start managing your money like the 1%. The first thing that the 1% do to manage their money is they know how to use debt in their favor rather than against them. Even the Kardashian family, their net worth is valued at over $3 billion, yet they've taken on $132 million in mortgages to buy their homes. Why do they do that? Well, first of all, consider that $132 million is not even 5% of their total $3 billion net worth. So it's a really small percentage of their overall wealth. And because they're part of the 1%, the Kardashians know that it's smarter to borrow this $132 million, preserve their own cash so that they can use their cash for other things that generate even higher returns, such as putting into their businesses, Skims, Kylie Cosmetics, and the dozens of other things that they do to make money. Most people use credit cards to fund purchases that they want today, and they get trapped in this endless cycle of just paying super high interest, never getting ahead because those credit card payments are just so unmanageable. Then look at the 1%. They use credit cards. Oh, trust me. But they use it to their advantage. They use credit cards to rack up rewards to get all kinds of free things like free luxury flights, hotel stays, travel perks, free food, lounge access at airports, and more. And instead of paying interest to the credit card companies and making Visa, Amex, and MasterCard rich, they know to pay off their credit card balance at the end of every month so that they don't rack up any interest, but they get all of those rewards and perks for free. To manage your money like the 1%, you have to beat the credit card companies at their own game. So milk the rewards, swipe the credit card, just pay off the balance at the end of every month. Another way that the rich people know how to use debt in their favor rather than against them is when making big debt decisions, such as taking on student loans. So for example, I went to a really expensive college. I did not do the math on whether this degree would be worth it. So I found myself in $100,000 of student loan debt. And luckily I was in a career where it was fairly doable to pay that off. But if I was thinking about debt strategically, like the 1% do, here's the calculation I would have done. First, you want to know what your degree will cost and how much debt you'll have to take on to get that degree. Let's say you'd have to take on $45,000 of student loans to get this degree. The student loan is at 5% interest, which means that over the life of the loan, most student loans go for 10 years. At 5% interest, the total repayment amount, the total debt you'd be paying back is about $57,000. Then you compare that total debt amount to the starting salary that you'd be able to get because of your degree. So let's say you're getting a degree in computer science and the starting salary in that field is something like $80,000. Well, then total debt amount of $57,000 compared to 80, that's a good move. But then let's say you do the calculation for an arts degree in fine arts or in anthropology. The starting salary for those kind of careers is very low. I'm just taking a guess. Let's say it's $40,000. Well, then taking on total debt of $57,000 to get a starting salary of $40,000, that's not really a calculated move. So I want you to start thinking about debt strategically. Don't just take on debt because you think that you need to in order to get certain things like a degree or a car. Really think about whether the numbers work out. Car loans are another great example. Most people take on car loans without ever thinking about the fact that they're taking on debt in order to acquire an asset that depreciates in value. Just consider the fact that as soon as you drive a car off the lot, it already loses 10 to 20% of its value, but you still have that same old car loan. Now, I'm not saying the rich people don't take on debt. They definitely do, but they always do the math and make sure that the ROI, the return on investment of taking on that debt will be worth it. One really good example is taking on debt to buy rental property. You buy a property, you take on a big mortgage, but the cash flow from that property is more than enough to cover the mortgage payments. And so that's one way you can use debt as a tool to make yourself richer. Here's another thing you can do to manage your money like the 1%. Pay yourself first. Here's what that looks like. You know how most people, when they get paid, they have this stack of money at the beginning of the month or right after payday hits. And then they're like, well, I gotta eat, I gotta put a roof over my head, I have needs. So that's where they start putting money away for rent, for gas for groceries. You got to keep the lights on. So utilities, insurance, phone bill, all that good stuff. So your needs are taken care of. Then this is where most people go wrong. Your friend invites you out to brunch. Oh my God, that sounds fun. Let's do it. Then you also want to buy some new clothes. Found some good deals in your email inbox. Target run, some Amazon scrolling. Oh, your friend group wants to go to Coachella. Hell yeah, I'm in for that. And then I'm going to do some Uber Eats because I'm tired, I'm hungry. Go out to eat with friends, get some drinks. And then what do you know? There's nothing left. And then you think, oh, well, too bad. I don't have anything to save for financial goals. I'll just try again next month. But when you pay yourself first, and this is exactly what the rich do, the 1%, they actually do that in reverse. They do take care of their needs. They've got bills to pay, so they'll put money away for that. And then they will prioritize their goals. They want to invest in the stock market, buy some rental property, maybe even pay down some debt, create some extra savings for a rainy day. And then with what's left, they can have fun. Go to Vegas, play some poker, some blackjack, go to Coachella, whatever music festival, go out to eat, get drinks, buy a round of drinks for friends, and that's it. That's what paying yourself first looks like. I know this doesn't sound like a big deal, but this, I promise you, will change everything. When you prioritize your financial goals, then your spending will just adjust around with what's left. That's just how it works. It's called Parkinson's Law. Now, if you're wondering how much you should budget towards needs, wants versus financial goals, I recommend at a minimum 10% for financial goals, 20% for wants, and the remaining 70% for needs. 70, 10, 20. Honestly, with inflation these days and the high cost of living, if you are putting at least 10% towards your financial goals consistently and doing that first before the other 20% for once, you are winning. But if you can do more than that, I would go for 50, 30, 20. That's 50% for needs, 30% towards financial goals, and 20% for wants. Here's something else. If you want to manage your money like the 1%, you need the right tools. That's why I put together my $1 Million Money Toolkit. These are the exact tools and templates that I personally use to reach 7 figures. It includes my budgeting template, my net worth tracker, and a couple of other tools that will help you prioritize your money correctly and manage your money like the 1%. Click the link below or grab it with this QR code. I spent years refining and personally using these tools, and I know you're gonna love it. So once again, grab your $1 Million Money Toolkit. It's totally free. Just click the link below. So the 1% pay themselves first. They put at least 10%, if not up to 30% towards financial goals. But what should these financial goals be? So this is where I want to talk about focusing on building assets versus focusing on your income. Because whenever you look at your overall financial situation, there are 4 aspects. There's your income, there's your expenses, there's your assets, and then there's your liabilities. 99% of people are focused only on income. They're only focused on what they're bringing in. But this is where we need to make a paradigm shift because 99% of people are working for money so that that money can pay the bills. But the 1%, they don't want to work for money. They know how to make money work for them. Then the money that works for them is what pays the bills for them. That's another reason why they're part of the 1%. So to do this, instead of focusing only on what you are bringing in, the income part, you also want to focus on assets. It's a completely different focus. Instead of thinking, all right, I'm bringing in X amount of dollars next month, you actually want to be thinking, I am going to be adding X amount of dollars to my assets this month. That should be your primary focus. And any income that you bring in is so that you can use that to buy more assets. You can buy assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency, anything that adds to your net worth, anything that could generate passive income for you in the future in the form of dividends, capital gains, or being able to sell things out of profit. Now, even though the 1% do focus very much on building assets, that's how they manage their money, that doesn't mean they're not focused on income at all. They do want to make more income. But the difference is that the 1% focus on different kinds of income. And so to manage your money like the 1%, I want you to start thinking about how you can create other types of income rather than just the first kind. There are actually 3 kinds of income. One is employee income, or if you're a freelancer, freelance income. The kind of money that you have to work to earn, you have to show up and put in time for dollars. Honestly, that is the only kind of income that 99% of us are bringing in at the moment. 2 is investment income. This is income that flows in passively from your investments. This could be a combination of interest from bonds or savings accounts. This could be dividends or capital gains from stocks. It could be from selling cryptocurrency at a profit. It could be rental income from rental property. There's a whole world of other income out there that comes just from investments. And then the third kind of income is business income. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily working as a self-employed freelancer, because that's honestly still being an employee in your own business. But by business income, I mean when you build a system, a team, something that works for you passively and brings in sales and money, whether you're working or not. One example of this is Amazon. Amazon is a business. There's a software, there's a whole ecosystem of sellers and buyers, and Jeff Bezos isn't the one making all that happen. Another example of this is my YouTube channel. That is a real business because a lot of these videos are still getting views and bringing in passive income in the form of ad revenue day in and day out, whether I'm shooting videos or not. Because the thing is, not all income is created equal. When you rank the 3 kinds of income on different spectrums of tax efficiency or time freedom, investment income is, unfairly enough, the lowest taxed form of income. So it's the type of income that the 1% have the most of, yet they are the ones paying the least amount in taxes. Because quite frankly, the tax code favors investors. So capital gains, dividends, other types of investment income are taxed at way, way, way lower rates than employee income. Same with business income. There's a lot of loopholes in the tax code that allow business owners to end up paying way less taxes than the average person. This is why Warren Buffett pays lower tax rates than his secretary. Even if you're not currently part of the 1%, these are some simple ways that you can actually manage your money like the 1% and therefore one day become part of that 1%. So to recap, use debt strategically to make you richer instead of poorer. Second, pay yourself first using either the 70-10-20 rule or the 50-30-20 rule. 3, focus on acquiring assets. Don't just focus on income. And last but not least, think about how you can diversify your income streams so that you go beyond just employee income. It's definitely an entirely new way to approach and think about money. So if you want some help with that, don't forget to grab my $1 Million Money Toolkit. These are the exact tools and templates that I use to personally go from 6-figure debt to 7-figure net worth. So you can grab it below. It's totally free. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!